students, and they had really great ideas, but it became very clear very quickly that they are so enthusiastic and very creative that they will make all of the plays work. So then, so we decided, okay, scratch that strategy, and so we spent the afternoon session reading through all the plays and jotting down ideas if we had some immediately, and then so they're going to rank them tonight, and then we will reconvene with our collective ideas. So we want you guys to do the same. So I mean, everybody has a vote in this, everybody has a stake in it, and then we can use our sessions tomorrow with them and much more on the production side of things. But we had 2 plays, and it wasn't intentional. We were going alphabetical, and so we want to do a read through for Elijah's play and Sinead's play. Yep. So if we could do that as a group, I think it'd be good, because it's like there's something different about reading it aloud, and so I hope you guys will go back and listen to your the readings that the students did. They really got into it, so it was fun. It was really good. It was really good. And the problem is everybody likes all the plays, so well, it's a good problem to have, I should say. So.
Yep.
So the challenge, I think, once we do that, is to really think about what kind of instructions we want to give the students tomorrow, and sort of like how we envision this coming together. Do we want it as a showcase? Do we want to interweave thematically? I think thinking through some of those ideas. Do you guys want to jump in?
I'm not sure how to group them yet. I have to actually go back in my notes and see if they can be almost like little story vignettes and then just like woven together. I'm not sure if that would be a thing, but I would definitely. I think I'm probably going to group them thematically anyway, and so I think my vote will be governed on that.
Yeah, and so some of the questions the students had were like, how much is dance a part of it, like in the scene itself, or is it an add-on?
Right.
Or,
it was like, is it a primary dance musical, or is it or not dance musical, but dance play? Or is it a show that just happens to have a bit of dance in it, which are 2 very different things. So,
and we have a lot of talent. So there's a lot of dancers, singers, actors. So, is that a fair?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Do you guys have questions?
Not really a question, but it was more, I didn't know, just thinking about like dancing and all that, I don't think I wrote a very proper script for that kind of setting, but I would have tried to incorporate that a little bit more.
Which was your script?
Mine was the one with House of Cards. I can't even remember what the title is at the moment.
Spencer, can you tell them?
President,
yeah. Can you tell them a little bit more about House of Cards? I didn't do it justice, really.
House of Cards, more or less, is about Frank Underwood, who basically just comes from, he's already a congressman, and he's kind of in this very brutish, very like power trippy way, makes his way to presidency, and he makes a lot of enemies along the way, and he's constantly trying to like, who's his enemy and who's his friend, it's like no one's really his friend. It's more about keep making sure that it's like he has all his like people on the chessboard in place, so if anything goes wrong, he has like a second plan or a third plan, and so it's just this very aggressive character. And I just thought that like with the play, at least, that with that kind of character in mind, that the vice president and the first lady could kind of go around that, because they could be anyone, and I tried to not name them or anything.
So you paired it though with the Oedipus and Jocasta and Creon, right?
Yes.
So the suspicion there, and
yes,
playing on the paranoia of tyrants. Just making sure. I mean,
No. I was thinking, and
good.
Spencer, did you again playing on the Oedipus thing? Is there a hidden secret? Is there something that's going to blow up if it gets out the way it is in the Oedipus plays? Because I have no doubt that Frank Underwood, there are lots of skeletons in the closet.
Are you talking about in the show?
As you conceived this, was there as you adapted this and sort of?
Is Oedipus right to be suspicious?
Is your Oedipal figure?
Oh,
large
yeah.
secret,
well,
just like-
well, one thing that I thought was interesting was that Oedipus was kind of suspicious about it, and even though Creon wasn't planning anything, Creon kind of becomes the king anyways once Oedipus leaves. So I don't think it's like when I was conceiving the play, I wasn't thinking, oh, the vice president is trying to conceive something. I actually was thinking more along the lines of that he isn't, and that the president is just so paranoid because of everything that's going on.
Right.
And I didn't really say what was going on either. I tried to, because I didn't think that really mattered for the scene. And it was just better to keep it as, like, imagine it for whatever you will. Whether it's, and, like, it could be, it is the president, but it could be any year that you wanted it to be. I tried to keep it pretty vague as far as that goes and see what the ballet ensemble decides to do with characters or what year they might think about putting it in, and like so yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to even be that difficult in terms of incorporating movement, because for example, you could personify the paranoia, or just like that chaos of the mind. You can personify that and do it in movement.
Yeah. Okay.
So like things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It shouldn't be too difficult to incorporate dance.
Thank you. One of the things that I think that's interesting about the House of Cards from a production standpoint is that they break the fourth wall.
Love it.
And so, there'll be this interchange, and then Frank Underwood will, look into the camera and say, talk and comment about this person or all that sort of thing. So it's a really, in that respect, I think it's a little bit closer to Athenian drama, at least as I envision it. That the relationship between the chorus and the audience and the actors is something. And the way the Gospel of Colonus managed that too, where the audience really are the parishioners. They're the congregants, if you will. So, I mean, it could be. I mean, it's. I mean, just again thinking some of my own responses to Spencer's play. The notion that President Frank is paranoid, but the question is, what is he most paranoid about? Is it just losing power, or is it something there that he is most concerned about? Yeah.
Well, part of it was, as I was writing, I realized that with the three characters, there was something, I especially with, I had it in the office, and then you thought, well, maybe put it in the bedroom. And I put it in the bedroom, and then I was like, oh, this could be a pretty intimate scene. And there could be like some underlying intimacy, not only between like the First Lady and the President, but between the Vice President and the President there, especially since they're all in a bedroom together. And so I was thinking that maybe it's not the fact that he's more worried about the power, I think, but it's also the fact that he's getting betrayed by someone that he thought he was really intimate with at the same time, or that he's been around, and him, and then it's like, well, if I can't trust him, can I even trust my own wife, or like my partner? And then kind of that he's kind of getting pulled from three different directions, one of power, and then these two different characters that he's intimate with. But yeah.
Jay, do you want to say a little bit more about your play?
It's set during the Atlanta Washing Society strike, 1881. It was, I wrote all this in the essay, I'm pretty sure, but it was the most, it's remarkable for being a successful strike, considering the time, and the people involved were mostly Black women on strike, opposed to white employers in the city. Even the newspapers were like, they're organizing really well. It was surprising to people because they assumed that the washerwomen were alone, but because of their domestic work and because of their close community ties, they were able to organize really effectively. And so that led to them basically shutting down the laundry in Atlanta, and it worked out really well for them. And they got better wages, everything they asked for, pretty much. So I learned about that in my Black protest class, and I thought, I know another strike, which is completely fictional, but I could put it in there. So I took the plot of Lysistrata, which is the sex strike, and I thought about how Aristophanes is weird, but like, kind of a point of it is that the women don't have a lot of power in Lysistrata except for what they can offer the men sexually. So I thought about how strike is about the exchange of power. What do you have that the other person wants? Stuff like that, and kind of the comic relationship there of like Professor Morell was saying earlier, if rich people don't know how to wash their own clothes. It's kind of pathetic. So, just stuff like that. That's about it.
One thing that I think is interesting about the play, and I'm sorry, I'm just talking. I hope that's okay. Is the notion that the power is that in the Lysistrata, it's a gendered struggle, right? And here it seems to be like the white women versus the washerwomen, right? So it's more, it doesn't have that gendered thing in quite the same way. That they're really battling not necessarily the men of the society, but their fellow women. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
Yeah, pretty much. I wanted to shift the conflict between men and women to white and black, or poor and rich, kind of, because those were the two central conflicts. I feel like white men were definitely had more power than white women at the time, but white women were still complicit in oppressing black people. And so just thinking about white womanhood and kind of the victim complex that they have, and bringing that in with a new conflict of race and class versus gender.
I like that.
There were a lot of laughs. So
Yeah,
with
they
yours,
are.
although I have to say they did struggle on your main character's name. How do you
Rafflesia?
pronounce it?
Rafflesia? Yeah, it's the corpse flower.
Oh, Rafflesia.
It's a stinky flower.
That's great.
Oh,
Like
that's very
that.
Aristophanetic.
Yeah.
No, they seem to like it, but they did think it was funny.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's next?
So can we?
Let's go.
Did you want more? Because we liked the Ave Maria too.
Okay, yeah,
We spent like almost all of our class
Yeah,
on that
really?
at Howard,
Yeah.
so that's sort of why we like. I
Yeah.
feel like, oh yeah, we've done yours, but
Yeah.
not in front of
Very
you.
funny.
So was there? Yeah. Tell us a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, you guys. It sounds like you guys know a lot of that already, but
Well, we don't know your conception
Yeah.
of
So
it.
okay. So I really wanted it to be socially relevant, and modern, and obviously this past summer, the big Catholic Church sexual abuse scandal, and you're seeing it in the Protestant denominations as well happening too, and as someone who is a Christian, I think it's important that it needs to be talked about still, and I think it's been swept under the rug quite a bit as of late. But so for me, it was really just about just wanting to just express kind of the disgust of seeing it on the outside through the eyes of someone who was personally affected by it. And so I know one of the comments was the priest should probably have dialogue, and so for me, from the authors,
Sorry,
from the writer's stance, it was how can he say anything? How can he have any kind of defense to what he knows is about him to those to those actions? So that was very intentional not to have him speak. And the chorus, I think the lyrics are relevant to what's going on in the story, and it relates well to Greek tragedy as well, in that they're actually singing something. I struggled a lot with it, so I hope none of it ever came off as corny when he begins to get emotional or what am I? So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a lot to. I'm open to a lot as far as stage direction goes. Something I kind of wanted was I mean, confessional, there's a wall and like a screen between. So yeah, and the priest kind of sits forward while you're kneeling towards him, and so that kind of, as far as vision goes, that kind of sets up a visual of like a cross, and that they're perpendicular from the way they're viewing each other, and I liked that a little bit, but I also liked kind of them sitting facing each other, but even though there's no screen on stage, they still can't see each other. And I think that adds to the effect of revelation in a sense, or that they don't know who's speaking to who, even though, I don't know. But I'm open to a lot on what to do. So yeah, any feedback you guys have is much appreciated.
Yes. Can we give feedback now?
Girl talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So at first when I read it, I didn't know how to feel about the fact that it read like a giant monologue.
Right.
But then afterward, I was like, girl, he's giving voiceless. That makes perfect sense. And why should the priest talk? They talk all the time. So one thing I did think about, though, staging-wise, is I did think about the dynamic of a confessional booth, and I thought it'd be so interesting if at the very end of the scene, they actually flipped roles. So the priest was on their knees facing forward, and he was the one in the priest position.
Yeah.
And we also talked about too how the priest could actually be the source of movement. So either in reenactment of everything that happened and sort of like a silhouetted tableau type thing, where you don't really see specifics. We're not going to go into specifics of the assault, but like just seeing that journey played out through movement, and then seeing the priest, whatever the internal conflict is, whatever his moment-to-moment thoughts are, seeing that through movement. So even though he's not speaking, he's still speaking.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking about that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's totally doable,
Yeah.
and I really liked it. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, we could do this. We can do stuff with this.
Okay.
So I think it's definitely worth playing with, and I personally think it's a contender. So yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, I also think it's an issue that needs to be talked about. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
All right. We ready to go?
Yes.
Yes. So.
Okay.
I did have one question before we.
we want to project this, don't we? We want to
Yeah,
project this.
I did have a question before we started reading, because I'm assuming we're reading Elijah's play first. Reading yours plays first.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So how many characters are in yours?
That's four. I probably should put it at the beginning. But
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Y'all know he acknowledged us in the beginning of this.
I saw.
Did y'all see?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
I saw.
was very sweet.
What?
Thank you.
What I missed?
Where?
But I was just asking because if we're gonna read through it like we did previously, we would usually assign people each character.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know how many characters we're assigning. I don't. I mean, I shut up.
So I get the names.
Shut up.
You said you get to this.
Keem, give the names.
The king. The Jews.
Why are you so ridiculous?
I don't get the names.
Yeah, actually,
You will once you look at them.
Oh, okay.
You should at least get the Hajili name.
Ajili, Akeem, Taylor, and
So it's like very basic, but the first two and the last one, it was a formula for how I came up with those
Really?
names.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Relit? Is right? Okay. Relit, Hajile, Akeem, and Taylor.
Is it your name?
Yeah, it's my name backwards. So Elijah, spelled backwards. Akeem, my brother's name is Michael, short for Mike. Mike was spelled that backwards.
And there's a Tyler.
Oh.
My dad's name is Michael Tyler. When he first mentioned, it's like Leah Kim or something like that, which is just Michael Tyler backwards.
Oh.
And then Taylor was just Taylor.
Ooh, I need to get creative. Okay. Lord. If it's not
See,
black
I was about to be
and
like, oh my gosh, is it cultural?
Because we who wants to play what?
No, wait.
We need volunteers.
I kind of want to play a dude because I don't know.
Can I be Elijah?
White.
Or
That's a lot.
Show him
Love
his
it.
legs.
What was it?
Ed.
Huh?
What are y'all missing?
Who are you, Jalen?
How do you say it?
Hajibi.
Hajibi.
I was actually thinking about if I want to go into writing, so I was thinking about having a writing name like related Hajibi, which is just my name backwards. So that
Why
would be
not?
interesting.
Who are you?
I don't know. What I feel like. I'm gonna be a Hakeem. Yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm gonna be somebody.
Let's do it.
Let's see.
Just dive on in.
We
Yeah.
need a Taylor.
I'll
So
be
we have-
Taylor.
You would be Taylor. You would.
Facts.
Okay.
One more we have Lynette.
I can do that.
And when is this set for you?
It's contemporary. It's a contemporary set.
Okay, so in this thing
setting
present.
was
It's a big one.
pretty much
Big one,
Memphis. I didn't. Again, I should have probably put that. But for like I did put references to Memphis newspapers and stuff. But you guys aren't from Memphis, so you guys probably wouldn't know that. But yeah, it's
But I'm an
set
actor,
in
so
Memphis.
I can pretend I know.
Stand out.
Facts.
I feel that. I also act sometimes.
I'll look at
Sometimes
you.
not even on
Okay.
stage, just in real
Just act a
life.
fool? Yeah, I know.
Oh.
That's how we get paid. Yep. Crazy writes my paycheck. Okay. I'm gonna give Akeem a whole accent.
I'm going
to say
Yeah.
Well, your stage is old. What is that?
I can make him Jamaican.
Don't make them Jamaican. They don't have to follow suit. I don't know how to
Girl.
do a Jamaican accent for that long.
You guys can
What's the first line?
It's
You
not
can
do
go
you
to
very
guys
another
easy.
want-
country.
do you guys
They can
mind
match
sharing
me.
one of your scripts?
I feel like that would just be offensive. Our country accents are not great.
You should do the accent. I don't care. Make it good.
No, because I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh the whole
Wait, what kind of
time.
accent you want to do?
I don't know.
Guys,
That's
I'm going to solve
No.
everything that is
if
happening.
you open up the possibilities.
She can do country and match me. We can match. And I'll go
You
deeper.
just said no.
I'll go deeper south.
No, I could just be. I could make him like a real stock
You can
character,
online if you want.
like superhero. That's too much. Guys, I'm going to solve everything that is happening. You guys should all stop worrying.
Sounds so dramatic.
You sound
like
right.
Superman.
Can
Oh
bring
my
this
god.
family
No,
together.
you know who they're my Batman
pretty
films.
serious.
They're just rich.
Right.
I was
Just for no
okay,
reason.
I read this. I was like, what the heck is going there?
I can just give him a list.
It just seems like I don't know if we can get distracted or what, but I gotta go. I need some fun in my boy.
How are we supposed to say Nancy's name backwards?
Iknan?
Iknon.
You can do Iknan.
Okay.
Iknon.
For
Keep
me,
that in
I
mind.
did Iknan.
What?
Iknon.
Ikna. Oh, looking for the murder of
That name only pops up like twice. So
That would be an
Try to
Ikna.
go. Y'all were with it.
I can make him real
I
blonde.
was like,
Alright, I think
Yo,
we're ready.
son,
Y'all
dead ass.
was
I'm gonna solve everything that is
They've
happening.
got it. They've got it part.
It wasn't fun?
I think we have.
No.
I'm making
I'm
fun of you
sorry,
right
I
now.
missed it.
Do you want
I
to be the
should
narrator?
have. I know you
Sure.
should
I
have.
can
You're
also
like,
give us a
I'll
little
do
bit
it.
more
I just
direction
made my
on
own
what
little
I
world
do.
here.
Yeah, sure. Please do.
Well,
Reading.
Okay.
You make them from New York.
Cameras on me. I don't appreciate
Your
that.
son dead ass. Stop worrying, man.
6 until 9 p.m.
And we was
Okay,
trying to
we're
show
listening to
Lasagna.
motivation,
Sorry.
and then we're. Or do you want to do it after?
Oh, sorry.
What happens?
Tell us about your play.
Tell us about it.
So this one was like loosely based off of Oedipus Tyrannus, the part where Oedipus is like, "Hey, I didn't kill Laius," where he gets Tiresias to come in and all that, and they talk about that. Also, was motivated for me based off of just family. Like I talked to Mr. Lawrence Blackwell of the Headley Theater about what I was going to be doing. It's like I just vaguely mentioned that, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing over spring break. He's like, you could implement that into your play, and I did. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, and also there are some family dynamics in the story of Oedipus as well, with especially the brothers and all that. So it definitely portrays the that conflict in families and conflict in interest. So yeah.
Like it. Let's go.
So doing a narrator, the person reading the.
I got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Enter a king, talks alone as if rehearsing a speech.
Guys, I'm gonna solve everything that is happening. You guys should all stop worrying. I'm gonna bring this family together. I will continue to fight for this family until I die. I feel like I'm here to carry this family on my back anyway. I flew 1,000 miles just to be here. And I will definitely find out who killed the wonderful Lady Iknon. I'm typing up a report now. Gonna make sure it's in the newspapers all over the city. It's gonna be on every news station. Listen to this. Looking for the murderer of Lady Iknon. $3,000 reward for anyone with any clues. Do not be afraid to tell us anything. All matters will be done in secret, and just and fair legal processes will occur. Call now, 550-505-5055. Now, if you don't call, that's when there will be some trouble. But why would anyone not call? To protect a friend or something? I don't think anyone would protect their friend when $3,000 is on the line.
Enter Hajili.
Oh, what are you in here babbling about?
Trying to solve the case of Mrs. Iknon by using the media.
Oh, was that what that was? Was that what all that $3,000 reward stuff is coming from? And how are you going to get the entire media behind this? And Lady Iknon, that's mom to us. I appreciate you trying to help the family out, but I have a better idea.
Yeah, what's that?
How about we just go straight to the police?
The police? In this city? So, the Commercial Appeal is a good newspaper I can start with. Maybe I can even get the bridge.
Deacon, stop talking, please. I know a man with a team of people all over the city and cameras in places where places shouldn't be.
Wait, how? Who? And why? What are you talking about? I came all the way here to help the family and you're talking nonsense.
I'm talking about finding out who killed Mom. I know her way better than you. And I know how to find her killer way better than you. So just be quiet and trust me. I'm always right when it comes to things like this anyways, and you know it.
What do you think I'm trying to do?
Well, what you aren't doing is listening. But of course, you never do that. I've been here and I've lived with Mom. I took care of her for years until I went off and tried to better myself by getting more education. And I just had the gut feeling that once I left, something would happen. And it did. But what have you done? You've been, what did you say, 1,000 miles away? And you come here only after learning that she died? Only after it breaks the family into even more chaos?
How about you tell me how your plan will work then? Heck, how do I know that your source is reliable?
Because you should know him. But I knew you'd be as ignorant as you always are.
Takes out a group of images and articles.
Should I have you read and look through all of this?
Ecom takes the sources.
This is all work documented by Sergeant Relit?
Leakim.
Mr. Leakim and his team of 150 deputies have a total of 2,000 cameras around the city.
Okay. I see he does know what he's doing. But who's to say that he'll actually help us?
Oh, nothing but the fact that he's been helping people for over 20 years.
Man, he's been doing that for that long?
Yeah, and unlike the media, he isn't full of lies and scaring people away from the city.
Okay, I'll check him out. And don't you ever criticize me. I did what I could for Mom when I could.
Yeah, sure. You left right when things became worse, and you are just now coming back.
That's debatable.
Enter Taylor. Taylor, not noticing the others.
I honestly can't believe that Mom is dead. I honestly don't know what to think. I never called her because when I got grown, I told myself that I'd be as far away from here as possible. Now I feel stupid, guilty, downright horrible. Mom did everything she could in order to take care of us. Now she's dead, said to be murdered, and our own children don't know who killed her.
So we need to go and meet the
Oh, didn't see you guys at first. What's this about the sergeant?
Okay, first of all, where did you come from?
I came from heaven, where all the angels come from.
And we're talking about visiting him to see if we can find Mom. It's just at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we are talking about visiting him to see if he can find Mom.
Mom, is that the part?
No, you're reading the older
the
sergeant
other
line.
one.
Oh, okay.
Like
I'm
your
ready.
line is kind of like in the background.
Right.
Okay, come on. You ready?
Yep. And
Oh,
we are
the
talking
sergeant,
about
he's
visiting him to
great.
see if
I've
he can
heard a lot
find
about
Mom.
him. That's what we were supposed to be?
Yeah.
Ironically, had already asked to see if he could come. Boom.
You did? What'd he say?
He'll be on his way very soon. In about an hour, he said.
Ah, I'm glad you're thinking. Some people decided they'd try to somehow reach all the media outlets and offer money that we don't have.
Yeah, I told Julia that was a stupid idea.
And
Hajili glares at Ecom.
anyway, Mr. Leakum said that he would be here in about an hour. I'm so glad he can come too. We need all the help we can get.
And why do we need this help now? No one cared when she was alive.
Look, this is a different story. You have no right to be judgmental, and honestly, we have no time. The family is together now. We are finally going to get to the bottom of this and hopefully learn from it.
Family? What family? We are nothing but a group of people. Are you really here to show love to the family, or are you here for your own personal gain? Because you've had years to show love to the family.
Okay, Hajili. I know how I've acted hasn't been the greatest, but you aren't so wonderful yourself. You left to better yourself, and during that time, Mom dies. Coincidence? I think not.
Oh, so now you're blaming me for Mom's death.
Well, we don't know who did it.
Y'all, will you two stop it? No need to blame anyone and no need to be childish. This family is just under some sort of curse right now, and it's impacting us all over the city. The whole family has been spread out. Can we at least allow ourselves to be peaceful and open enough to be able to fix this?
I just wish that you guys were there for Mom more when she was alive. I just feel as though being her children, there was so much that you guys could have done. But I've always been the one doing it. I felt guilty for leaving home, knowing that you guys wasn't and wouldn't step in. But I know that I had to leave so that I could grow, so that I could have more tools to help aid Mom. But now she's gone. I'm not trying to be a troublemaker, but I want you guys to know how much it hurts to only have y'all appear and to talk about Mom after she is gone. It's like all the work is done, and then you show up. You show up to reap the benefits you can without doing any of the work. You ridiculed and laughed and talked about Mom for years, and now she's gone. And now you are sad. Now you are here. Now you want peace when Mom had asked for it for years.
Look, we feel bad about it too.
Yeah, words can't express how bad I feel.
But we are here now trying to make a difference.
And we can only make a difference if we are given a chance to.
So please, give us a chance.
She's dead now. Your chance to show her appreciation is over.
Sergeant Lickum enters.
Hey guys, am I interrupting something?
Darn.
Julie?
Oh. No, Sergeant. We were just waiting on you.
Yes, I know. Taylor called and told me what was going on. It just seems like you guys were having a discussion.
Everything is okay. Did you find any information on our mom?
Well,
Yes.
I'd rather not share any info.
What?
Sorry. Sorry. I told you he wouldn't be reliable.
Mr. Leakum, what's the matter?
Well, what I've witnessed and heard from many sources throughout the city, well, I don't want to share.
What do you mean you don't want to share? You're supposedly helped people for what, 2 decades, and you don't want to tell us anything?
Why are you trying to keep this info from us? Do you not care about us and our family? Are you that stubborn?
No, I am not stubborn. It's just that my knowledge, and this time, I choose not to tell it.
You're a stubborn fool. Looks like the commercial appeal will be more help than you.
You can leave if you aren't going to help us. I will never trust you again. Heck, you are now dead to me.
You know what? I'll tell you what I know. You look for the people who killed your mom. Look no further than the mirror. And while you are at it, give yourself $3,000 if you want to.
Wait, what?
Don't make me repeat what I said.
No, I don't think we understood you at first. Can you run that by us one more time?
Both you and Taylor, killed your mom.
How dare you say that stupid thing one more time? You're stupid.
You guys are the ones who told me to tell you.
That was when we thought you were smart.
Hajili, you showed me articles and sources. Did you just make those up?
No.
I don't trust you. Wait, why are you two on some team trying to make us look bad? Because that's right up your alley.
No. I suggest you listen to the man.
We will not listen to this foolishness. If I knew he'd be talking this stupidity, I wouldn't have asked for him to come. What gives you the right to blame us?
The truth. I have video evidence.
You know where you could put that evidence? I didn't kill my mom, and neither did Ecom. Why would we do such a thing?
How long have you two been away from home? For almost as long as I've been working. When is the last time you saw her? Do you remember how she looked? Do you remember someone outside walking? Do you remember killing a little old lady as you two drove together out of the city, heading north down 55 going home? You ran into her and you left her for dead. How did she look?
You know what? You can leave. You sound stupid.
Okay, I'll be leaving. But remember, April 27th, what were you guys doing?
Wait, April 27th?
When it leaves, the focus turns to a camera in the room that was previously unnoticed. The camera acts as a window to a room with many screens. The upper body of one person per screen is seen. And this is like the chorus part. You guys can
Okay.
Who are
Who are
these
these people meeting here? And tell us what happened. You are all family? Or are you all strangers? Your mom has died. What will you do? What did you do?
The person in the middle screen acts as a song leader. They repeat what the other screen said, sentence by sentence. Leader soon breaks out into a solo. Jesus. Other screens repeat. Who, what did you do?
Who you want?
I can give you the leader part.
Okay.
This family has come together after a tragedy has occurred. They hope that they can get better, but their time now seems blurred. They don't know what to do, and they're scared to go on, too scared to move. Now they don't seem to trust each other. Now there's doubt in their minds. There's one who watches over the city, and he says he saw them one night. But now there's confusion. Now there's distance too. Who? Tell me, who are these people, and what? Tell me, what did they do? All screens breaks out into the chorus again. Once again, the verse and chorus are then repeated. Hopefully, we will find out. We will soon find the truth.
Right there. That's cute. There you go, I like that.
Do you want to give feedback now, or do you want them to write down some comments like you did this afternoon? What's your procedure?
I mean, I feel like we're here.
Yeah, and there's not that many of those.
Okay.
I think you'll still get comments tomorrow from the
The more feedback, the better.
Aisha, you have some feedback? I mean, I guess we can just start there. Or we can start with Jalen. Jalen, you want to go first?
Tiante, how about you?
Well,
I was thinking how the leader's soliloquy at the end reminds me of like the cadence of the chorus. So maybe we can use that part in connecting scenes. Just a thought. Yeah, I like the cadence of the leader's speech.
And I want to hear actually the screens repeating. Like, I think that would be really neat.
I don't know how that would actually be from the stage, so I thought about that.
you can actually have physical people, like screens can be projected, or screens can just be implied, and then you can have each person like doing it in what do you call it, in the round, or not in the round, on a round.
I got you.
So they're saying their lines at certain cue points. So, you know, it doesn't have to actually physically be on a screen. And it's super minimal, so it's easy to do.
True.
True.
So
I
know
thought
this
y'all was like saying like true, like
Sorry.
ooh, I need to do that.
Just got a different.
Anything else?
Really liked that. I think it was like really good job. I definitely liked the name idea. That was cool. But I overall I think it was like really good. I really liked the end, how the leader kind of summed everything up and put it together, and I really liked that.
Yeah, I could appreciate it. I think it flowed very nicely. It was very poetic. It was funny. I thought so. Yeah, I don't know if that was your intention to make it, comedic. I don't know. Maybe I just have a sick sense of humor. I don't know.
So let me ask that it's a hit and run. There's a hit and run accident, right? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. And they haven't made the connection that it was their mother that they and I'm just wondering if there aren't some ways to because we hear the story about Oedipus when he and his being on the way and confronting these sort of highway robbers and stuff like that kind of thing, or what he thought he was at risk. I'm wondering if there is that they didn't make this connection to this. I mean, a hit and run accident is terrible enough as it is, right? I'm wondering if they're. Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of brainstorm about how to make that more plausible in some way about an accident. Maybe she moved. She wasn't. They didn't know that she had moved to this other community or something like that, so that they wouldn't make the connection.
What I've tried to do in introducing the part was like, how long has it been since he's been here? Like they've been gone away for so long, away from their mom for so long that they don't even recognize her anymore. So.
I was gonna make a suggestion about that because I kind of had the same feeling. So it would be nice if there was even hints as to, or suggestions of why they left each other or why they separated. So like moments like, why did you leave? Why did you come back now? You know why I left. And it'd be interesting too, because you mentioned these very specific and significant numbers. You mentioned the 27th, you mentioned 55, and you mentioned 3,000. And it'd be interesting if you had figures or characters in the chorus whisper those numbers in those moments of tension. So like in those, and then we realize the significance of those numbers later on in the story. Does that make sense? So like in the moments where they're arguing about why weren't you here for mom, all of those good stuff, and they always kind of suggest that the other knows why they left or the other knows why they didn't return, and in those suggestive moments you hear those whispered numbers because there's always this looming other burden of death that they have on them that split them up, and now their mother's death brings them together, and it's the very same death, so it all comes full circle. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, and I think that would add to the mystery of it too, like what do these numbers mean? Why are they significant to the story that they're telling now and their mother's death? And then it connects the two ideas.
I like the Tiresias figure being the eye.
I mean, the one thing that makes the situation in Oedipus somewhat compelling and believable is that it took place someplace else, right? And they don't make the connection to where it was, and the notion that what they experienced was so contrary to his experience. So I'm thinking of some sort of spatial dislocation that would make that, again, make that plausible, or something that was, a homicide that was more indirect in some way. Either to make it more indirect so it takes them a while to make the connection, or some other spatial dislocation so that something that happened or an encounter that they had with someone. I mean, it could be, we think, for example, of accidents that might happen all the time where we might be driving along, for example, and swerve out of the way or something, but cause someone to then do something and maybe crash or something, and we're completely unaware of the fact that we had caused anything like that, and they would have no reason to think that that they were complicit in something like that.
I just remembered, so I love watching like crime documentaries and stuff, just documentaries in general, and there was this one murder mystery where this actually is very similar. This man ends up mistakenly killing his wife because she was leading a double life. So she was like a prostitute, and she was like dressed up as a like he didn't know it. She was very different wig, different hair, all of this stuff. And so he had some sort of encounter with her, killed her, not until later realizing that was his wife. And so I was wondering, like, what if the mother had a life outside of, like, where her outside appearance looked nothing like how she usually looks, and so they dismissed her as either a vagrant or just somebody that we consider marginal or we consider insignificant, and so they dismissed the death for that reason, and then the death becomes significant because that's their mom. And that's a commentary in and of itself, but yeah.
But I think that comes out in the fact that they haven't been home in however many years.
But the question was, like, why would they not make the connection then during that accident scene if there was no distance, no space, like that it was their mom then. So I'm trying that would be a reason to justify it, or a way to justify it, is that they wouldn't recognize her. So they would consider it a totally separate death. So if somehow she did not resemble herself at all, they would dismiss it as just like a horrible thing that he did, but completely separate from their mother's disappearance and death.
I suppose you could pull out the class thing a little bit more, because the way that the brother that stays home then leaves to like get an education, but he's still like taking care of his mom in some ways. Like if the brothers who do leave like come back and they're more affluent or whatever, if that's what you mean, and like so that they don't even
I like
sort
that.
of dismiss this as their, and I don't know whether they're coming back, like what's gonna. Yeah, I think I understand the conflict now. It's like, how do you get them to come back unless they like somehow, she's like cleaning something or doing something and they totally do something that causes her death, and they don't realize, they don't put the 2 and 2 together, and it could be that they think of themselves as coming out of it, and now there's a distance, and so they have a complete, I don't know, but that would be either that or she could have won some prize money. But before she did anything, or I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah,
how
they
would
could
they
just
come
be.
Back
They could just be a
like,
whole double life. Like the mother's story could actually be its own separate arc that weaves into this one. So whatever you want to do with that would justify the initial killing, and then it would justify their discovery of her death later on. I think you could play with that and have a lot of fun with it too. But since it's a world you created, I think we should leave that to you. But those are just some suggestions of how that could play out. She could also be a mom who maybe was their secret shame. Maybe she had mental illness that made her disappear for days at a time. Maybe that was something that was a burden on them. Maybe they didn't even recognize her when they did hit her initially because, mental illness changes a lot of things. And she could have just been gone for a while. So maybe even when they realized that their mom was dead and she disappeared, it wasn't uncommon. So even that didn't strike a nerve in them until they found her. Does that make sense? Like, because they're so used to her going off. And that could be a reason why they left too. Like, you left me when she needed us the most. That's when you decided to leave her and abandon her. And then look what happened to her. It's your fault.
But I do like that idea. And it does, coincide with what you're saying, of course, because that would rationalize how a situation like that could possibly occur. But I do like, the analytical aspect that it could have, being the issue of, class. Because, let's say that, their mother did have mental illness. It took a toll on her body. Somebody, these kids might mistake her for being some, lady off the street, somebody in poverty or something.
Somebody we dismiss all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And has trouble keeping a job. So
yeah, and it is very unfortunate, but I think it definitely reigns true to society and that issue in regard to people, the socio and political issue of the different class structures. So I do, if you want to go that route, that would be beautiful. But again, it's up to you.
Yeah. Her backstory can be whatever you want it to be. But those are just ideas on how you could incorporate that. Yeah, definitely. Because, that's one of the things, too, that fascinates me, especially about any plays regarding death, is when they go back and sort of retrace the person's life and you make those discoveries in that retracing. I think that's really beautiful too. So I'd love to hear how she lived. Because I do think it matters.
You guys have any thoughts? You guys are at this big corner of the room. It's very quiet.
I got in here after it was read.
Yeah.
So no.
I like the idea about the whispering numbers. I think that's creative and not just you're just watching a narrative, but because then they're thinking like, what does that mean? Like it gets them working and thinking about it. I also do think the socioeconomic issues are should be explored as well.
Period.
Is this helpful? I mean,
So when I wrote this, my biggest struggles, for one, keeping it under 10 minutes, but also just looking at this, like when I did this, it was like a snapshot. It wasn't like the complete story, and I know that looking at this, you wouldn't get the complete story from it. So when I wrote this, as I was writing this, I was like, I may have to write, like, aside from like what we're doing here, like just write more on this in general, and see how that story is fleshed out, because when you go, it stops right here when it's like, wait, April 27th, so the character, they're just getting this epiphany about what's going on, but the audience has no idea. So for me, if I was to do a continuation, which I can't because it's already too long, I would want to discuss what is April 27th and what happened on this day and all of the stuff about that. But
I'm sorry. I was going to give feedback on that too. Because I do think there are moments in the character's dialogue that could be a bit more concise. So the idea is very repetitive, and it could be even narrowed down even more so that you can include more. So even there's just this idea of the repetition of saying that she's dead in a lot of the dialogue, like some of it could be cut out, because we do get the idea, we understand what that means, like we understand the weight of her death. And so now I think those moments, if you eliminate some of that, it will give you opportunity to interject moments of her life, or how her life affected them, or the reason for their split. And that, so I think it's not necessarily adding on to what you have, it just might be revising some of the ideas to narrow them down to fewer sentences, and then being able to give yourself room to include those other aspects of the story.
yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. Definitely.
Should we do sites?
Yes. Yes.
We should get that just gave me a paper cutter for you.
Never. I did not. So extra.
So this is called the outlier.
So at first glance, it looks like there's only 3 characters. There's a
Can't see.
girl. I just picked it up. There's a dentist.
Somebody handed this.
Okay.
Do y'all need this one to see?
Yes.
No, this mine.
Oh, I thought you were passing it.
No, this. I see you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay. But that is
it's
passed.
yours.
No, obviously not.
Drew, while we're getting reverse, introduce
I'm trying
yourself.
to take
Oh, I'm
all
Drew
my paper
Lees.
organized.
I'm sophomore neuroscience major, hopeful Greek and Roman studies minor.
Interesting.
Welcome
I'm
back.
in a neuropsychology class right now.
Yeah.
Very, very various. We have a quiz every Thursday.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. A lot of every Thursday.
Every
Class
day.
professional
Okay.
classes on
Right.
Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, never
Right.
Tuesday or Thursday.
Oh, he's talking about your fight.
I don't have much more to say.
Oh, should we introduce ourselves again or not?
Oh, I don't even remember the title. I wrote it during a 16-hour drive.
Okay.
What was it about?
Kind of a retelling of the Polynices entreating his father for a blessing scene.
Is it Oedipus?
Was that the Oedipus Tyrannus one? The
Yeah.
one that had the title Oedipus Tyrannus?
Yeah.
It was Oedipus Coolanus.
I think his name was on here.
That's not.
Oh no, his name was
Drew.
Oh, Drew.
Drew.
We haven't read that one.
This one got rolled out the wheel.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's his.
Okay.
Wait, say
Yeah, I
When the
remember
dude got rolled
that.
out the wheel, he was being homophobic towards his dad.
Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Then he's trying to get back
You
in the
should have
wheel.
just said the homophobia. I would have been like,
Yeah.
got it. Okay. Yeah.
It was a
But
long
still
drive.
being, we couldn't done
It was a slog.
That's okay.
I'm not a very good writer.
Because I played the son.
There's a reason I'm a neuroscience major,
Yeah.
and it's because I'm not a
Physics
good writer.
major.
I thought it went over well.
No, it
In the
was
reading,
good.
I thought it went over well. So the feedback was good. So, as I say, I think there were just a lot of. It's going to be difficult to narrow down.
Yeah. It was awesome. He was like, just love dad, man. It's like, no, just want to be in the wheel.
That's about how it went.
So we started
He condensed it.
See?
Yeah.
The physicality behind it.
Really brought out the essence of the piece.
2 sentences.
Hey, don't be a dick.
Right, don't be a dick. No, man, just want the money. I really miss Ron, man. That's being a dick.
Oh, we missed
All right, so we need a narrator, and we need Dennis and Gideon and Captain.
The captain.
Yeah.
I'm captain.
Alright. I'll be Dennis.
I know you just heard me express interest in anyone.
Dennis?
I'll be Dennis.
Gideon? Who's Gideon?
I'll be Gideon. I
Okay.
haven't read anything.
I'm so sorry. I
And
read Dennis.
then do we have a narrator?
But will you? I'll narrate.
Do you want to
Oh,
Can you say
no, I'm not.
That's
I'm not gonna take it
I'll
seriously.
put 10 roll and I will
You can't.
Ooh, it's just ready to go, baby. Oh, who is Murray?
About that time, y'all.
Can you, do you want to
Time. 20 minutes. What y'all doing?
We can talk about that after. You know, this ain't the space.
I'm gonna read all the ones I haven't read yet.
That's just so Monday.
Experience, which is what I saw talk about.
Oh, shit.
And I haven't eaten today. So.
All day. I'm so sorry.
Sounds like Rhodes.
It happened.
He said he hasn't eaten all day. Ooh, I felt that in my spirit.
should have brought,
Yeah.
should have brought the
Cookie.
stuff.
Ugh.
Lucky you.
It's better than it used to be.
It is.
My friend
This is
found
like-
a whole plastic bag in a grilled chicken breast. Like,
I remember
this
that.
is,
Wasn't
this
it
is
Luke?
peak,
Yo.
this is peak rat. Right
Oh.
now.
That's not even an
Like, this is the
accident.
best
That's like
sarcastic
involuntary
ever.
manslaughter.
Yeah.
That's not even. You
You
got a whole
You
plastic
guys-
bag.
that was also like
Oh,
last
that's apparently
month.
because they're trying to find
It's
somebody.
real.
Yeah, it's the grilled chicken.
Isn't that the lair?
How did the chicken get stuffed with the
Next day,
I don't think they took it out of the package. I don't know how they grilled it.
If you don't turn your brain on all the time,
And then
then it can. Yeah.
Also, they don't know how to
Yeah.
cook right.
No.
Go away,
Come on, man.
And they were like laying
I feel like they were just like, they don't get enough life.
Yeah.
Alright, so, yeah, outlier.
Sorry. We're ready.
Alright.
What'd you do?
No, I just,
I
they
don't
talked
like being
about how
on
they
this side of the
cook,
table.
they talked about how they don't cook rice, and I was just like thinking like.
No, that's
Hey,
not
And then-
Also just a
I
terrible.
know.
Me and Nick over here. And Drew.
In the year 2089, crime is eliminated from the world thanks to 3 gifted humans called precogs. These mutants have special powers that allow them to see into the future and predict all major crimes before they've happened. During his prime years working at the WDCPD, Dennis Merrill believes there might be a fatal flaw in the system. On a seemingly normal day at the office, the precogs predict that he will in fact murder a man that he has never met. As a result, Merle spends the next weeks searching for a 4th precog that sees an alternate future. Washington, D.C.'s police department overhead. You want me to just do the overhead? Yeah. Okay. Overhead announcement. Welcome to the future, where all is seen and crime is stopped in its tracks. The precogs are never wrong.
Scary.
Dennis heads to the headquarters to begin another day at work.
Morning, Merle. Slow today, isn't it? I see you had time to stop for some breakfast. Hope you're ready to kick some butt today.
I can't complain. I'm just here to do my job and put a stop to crime in our time. Though these mutants worry me, I can say they do a damn good job at putting the bad guys behind bars.
Red bell flares, signaling a precognition in place.
Duty calls. You don't need to be a mutant to predict what that means.
Dennis and Gideon make their way to the mutant room to assess the situation. Mutants in unison, letting out screams of terror as the crime plays through their minds and on the projection screen.
Yeah, what do we got?
Oh. Not sure yet. We haven't seen any faces, but it looks like a homicide of a white male.
He's gonna speak.
Who's
No!
Alright.
There you go.
Thank you. Very
Support
nice.
it, support it. Be my
I
favorite.
have a weak heart.
Okay. Why are they screaming like that? They don't usually cause so much commotion for a single homicide.
Must be a gruesome killing. I can't wait to put this sucker behind bars. He won't even know what hit him.
Another day at the office. Man, I love my job. These no-good scrums deserve everything that comes to them.
Okay.
Ever since these doggone troops of humans came into our radar, crime's been down 120%. Now that's something the world can get used to.
Yeah.
Here we go. The sucker is about to show us his face now.
Oh, not dead.
All turn in the direction of the screen, only to see Dennis standing over the body covered in blood with a knife in his hand.
Dennis.
Dennis?
No. No, this can't be real. Come on, fellas. Joke's over. Y'all got me this time. I know I said the precogs are a little flawed, but y'all ain't have to set me up.
No one set you up. You know that's you. And you know how this process works. Now don't run. Let's all make this easy on each other.
Okay.
Dennis gets placed under arrest and is led to the interrogation room.
I never thought I'd see the day where my best officer would be sitting across from me in a room like this.
Captain, I ain't never seen that man before. I had no idea who he is. I've never seen the scenery, and I've never even thought about committing a crime.
Enough. The precogs are never wrong. You know this.
This is what I've been warning y'all about for years. The precogs predict the future, and like sheep, we go to arrest people for crimes that they haven't even committed without a second thought. And
I said enough. I just want to know your motive for killing this man.
You mean a vision of me killing a man? You know better than this, Captain. For years, we've stood side by side and have watched this department turn into a hellhole of tarot cards left to 3 mutants who spend their life watching and rewatching horrid crimes. We have them locked up in a basement only to live their lives in constant fear and pain. Of course, all they see is horrible things.
Come on, man. I can't believe you. We all had so much faith in you. You're going to be the next big head honcho. What's this guy got on you that you would need to commit a serious crime like this? We're buds, mate. You can trust me.
Buds. Sorry. If I confess to a crime that I didn't commit, you'll lock me up. If I don't confess, you'll lock me up. I don't see a way out of this. Something isn't right.
I will protect.
I've had it up to here.
Hey, that is my line.
Oh, sorry.
You were ready.
I was. I'm sorry.
You wanted to slam
You
the
wanted
table.
it. You wanted
That was
it.
it.
I just saw slam
Mine's
the
not
table.
going to be as good, but had it up to here. You will not make a mockery of me in this department. When I get back, you better be ready to tell the truth, scum. Come on, Gideon. He ain't ready to face it yet.
Be right there, boss.
Door closes behind the captain.
Don't mind the captain. He's just confused. You're like a son to him.
A son? Captain was ready to throw me under the bus the first moment he saw my face on that screen, and you know it!
Dennis, the precogs are never...
Don't hit me with that bullshit! You're telling me that these... Sorry. Was that okay?
The actor here.
Okay.
The actor.
Okay.
A1.
Okay.
Start over.
Okay, ready. Can you do the Dennis line?
Take it from the top.
Dennis, the precogs are never...
Don't hit me with that bullshit! You're telling me that these people have no other ending? Just suffering? Is that what's in store for me? Over a man I haven't ever seen in my freaking life?
Gideon takes out his key and begins unlocking Dennis's handcuffs.
Gideon, what do you do?
Shut up and listen. I love you, man. I don't want to believe this of you. For years, I've been working on something of my own. Headquarters lied to us. There aren't 3 precogs, there are 4.
Wait.
Shut up! We don't have much time. The 4th precog is different from others. It's an outlier.
They predict an alternate ending, don't they?
Yes, but I've only heard rumors about their location. It's going to be difficult to get around since you've now wanted for murder. But I say you try. Clear your name. Give all who may be innocent. Give all who may be innocent a voice. Go to my place in my basement behind the dresser. It's a secret door. Use the code 9508 and look for my research in my desk and computer. Don't talk to anyone and trust no one. Most of all, don't lose your temper. You don't know who this man is and his relation to you. Good luck.
I owe you one. I'm an innocent man, I'm telling you.
I believe you.
Dennis and Gideon embrace, and Dennis runs out of the room, using the secret exits to make his way to Gideon's home to clear his name and find the 4th precog. No one knows what the future lies ahead, but Dennis has every intention in getting to the bottom of his orchestrated
I
mess.
support this.
I like
I
this
support
one.
all of it.
Like that one.
Put it on Netflix. Support it.
There's a
The
show like that
Netflix
on
adaptation
Netflix.
is going to be worth it.
It's based on a comic where like they can tell who's going to commit a crime. It's called
Oh.
Psychopaths.
Oh, good job, Netflix. Have to watch that.
Already one step ahead, right?
It's also yeah.
Well,
I just feel like don't hit me with that bullshit to be a statue. I did.
Just like that.
I like how you did it different than you did the first time.
No facts. I enjoyed that.
I saw season 1 on season 2.
And I think the biggest thing for me too is I got the connection to its classical.
I've seen that like
Yeah.
Well, this is, Drew mentioned Minority Report.
It's kind of
Yeah.
on the way for you.
short story
It is,
by
yeah, so
Philip
on
K.
there.
Dick that was made into
It
a
was
movie.
free.
I mean, I do think the notion.
It's kind of like a why not?
I mean, I think this might be. Well, I don't know to what extent we would acknowledge, the concept of precogs and all of that sort of thing, because it's pretty well mapped out in the Philip K. Dick work, as well as Minority Report. But it might be the notion of one way of thinking about this would be the concept of someone who's not, say, in an official capacity, but someone who is clairvoyant and can see into the future and tips the police off to certain things that are going to happen or have happened, and that maybe this one police officer has an incredible record of solving crimes, and it's all due to this one, okay, and then ultimately gets a tip. The clairvoyant says something about, and you're going to do something, right? So something like this, and about. What are the implications of then trying to get away with that, sort of like, because this is really about the oracular sort of the fates, the oracle that Oedipus receives in Delphi about his own future. So I do think the idea of having someone that can predict, who has some sort of credibility in terms of his or her ability to predict the future, or some sort of track record, and how that would destabilize one's life, with that sort of thing.
Yeah. And even Dennis's challenge to that, because he's saying, like, no, you just saw a vision of me doing the thing, doesn't mean I'm actually going. This idea of, like, I love the fates being used as the precogs. Like, are they helpful or harmful? Are they heroes or villains? I love a gray area character, so I think
it could be. I could envision this kind of thing where it's a little meeting where this police inspector or detective meets his source, right? And they're in a coffee shop or something,
Of course.
and say, so what have you got for me now? Okay, what,
Slides.
and just slide something over, and maybe he opens it up and he sees that it has to do with him, and then they go into this dialogue about, well, you might discount this, you might say that I'm wrong, but look at these other cases that I've done and that I've been able to show you. I mean, you've got to take this seriously, and that have a slightly the same notion, but couched in slightly different terms.
I don't know if it was intentional, but I kind of like the strong connection to like the Greek oracle and fate tradition, where like every like Greek myth, at least that I'm familiar with, like the oracle or the fate will say something like fairly vague, and someone's like, I know what it means.
Yeah.
And then do the complete wrong thing, and something that's like catastrophically wrong. And I kind of like how, if you look at this from the Greek perspective, you can see how they take something that looks fairly ambivalent and think they know what it means, and also the implication that a lot of times what they're doing is catastrophically wrong. Like, and especially, you can also apply that to just like modern police tactic. Like, you don't know what's going on like 90% of the time, and interpreting it with limited information both now and in this play and in the Greek context, I guess kind of connects to show like interpretation is usually wrong, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like every psychic sitcom ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they just get part of that's
Yeah.
a Raven. Where they
Yeah.
just get part of a vision and then they play it out, and you're like, oh wait,
That's so weird.
it is that's a Raven, so that's weird. But yeah, it's that idea of we only get part of the truth, and then we try to fill in the blanks, and then we fill it in terribly, like a really bad Mad Libs,
Yeah.
and like just mess up our lives even more.
You either make it come true or you get an outcome for yourself that's worse than predicted.
Right.
No.
Oh, humans.
Okay, well, it's time.
That's
All right.
time. Clock out.
Good work, team.
You said clock out.
Clock out.
I did not know.